I took it for granted at first, you know, being able to do everything. And then after the injury, it got cut in half. Nothing came easy. You had to take your time doing it.
It's hard, you know. It's all stuff that you remember like your whole life. And then you can't remember like some of your best moments of your life. I mean, those are all the things that, you know, I mean, your children's birth and your wedding. I mean, that's hard.
We were told at that point he was not going to live, he was going to be a vegetable, and, you know, how we were going to sit down and talk about donating his organs. It was horrible. It was a really horrible experience for us as parents. And I wish I could say I want to erase that at that time, but it's just something that will be with us forever.
And he went through angry, like, why aren't I 100%? And why did this happen to me? Why did that person look through his scope and pick me? Why can't I have the life I had?
And that right there is my Old Glory, which I salute. Land of the free because of the brave, because of men like me.
Over the last 2 centuries, the consequences of warfare to the American soldier have been well documented. However, in recent years, advances in body armor, combat medicine, and modern-day weaponry have quietly created a new challenge for society. A medical condition that has flown silently under the radar, something that in many cases can be invisible to the human eye, but carries with it huge consequences. Over the next few minutes, you'll meet Tracy, Eddie, and Brian, 3 veterans of Operation Iraqi Freedom who were injured during deployment. In all 3 cases, these men returned home with the signature injury of these wars, a traumatic brain injury. What you're about to hear are some of the struggles they and thousands of other service members and veterans have had to endure on their journey back home.
We didn't know where to go. We didn't know who to turn to. It's like you have a son who has a brain injury, and there you are. And so what do? You know, you're in hospital after hospital. You're going from agency to agency. You finally get home, and now you're home. And who do you call? You know, unless someone would come up to my husband and I and say, hey, you know, there's this agency, there's this organization, there's this association that can help with TBI or with whatever. We would never know what was available to us. But, you know, especially TBIs, because there's a lot of that going on, to have that access to know, hey, I can call the Brain Injury Association. They could come in and they can give me some resources that I can use to help. So I'd like to see that happen, because we didn't have that. So we were scrambling around looking for help anywhere we could get it. And so that would be something I'd like to see.
It got so I couldn't remember a lot. You know, I could hear people talking, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. It was like all coming in as garble. And when I got back to the VA, they told me that was part of the brain injury. And I get lost a lot. It's starting to get better, but if somebody's talking too fast or something, it's like all garble, and I got to keep asking them what they said.
He didn't know he was a soldier. Yet he could look at a picture and he knew the people in them. He recognized them, but he might not have necessarily known their name, and he couldn't understand why they were in uniforms in the desert. He knew his birth date, but he didn't know how old he was. Like, I'd ask him, how old are you? And he'd just cry. But he knew his birth date. You know, he knew I was from Canada, but he didn't remember memories from things that we did when, you know, we were dating. He knew we had 2 kids. He knew they were a boy and a girl, but he couldn't remember specific memories of things that we did with them. You know, he'd look at pictures and he would just get frustrated, or I had videos on a laptop and he would slam it shut and he didn't want to look at it because he couldn't remember things. And then they started just coming in all different blocks that were from all different time frames, just coming at him all at once, but not in chunks of time. It wasn't when he was 5, then 6, then 7. It could be when he was 15, then 5, then Army, then, you know, and it just started coming at all erratic time frames.
So there's a lot of behavior issues, you know, so things that shocked us really, because, you know, my son in his day would never be in my home and start cursing and calling me names, and he wasn't the type of person to do that. And he would go through stages where every other word would be a curse word. He would say things that were inappropriate, and so those are challenges, and you know, at some point, you know, they would be upsetting to us because we didn't know how to handle them. And being with Eddie and understanding how he was, to a certain extent, because we don't fully understand it naturally, but understanding that redirection was the key for Eddie. And what I mean by redirection is, you know, if he should say a curse word, we would redirect that and say, hey, you know, how about substituting that word for something else? And or if he would hit, like I was explaining earlier, if he would hit the bed rail with his arm because he was frustrated, redirect him, say, hey, you know, take that right hand and work the fingers. You know, you need to work those fingers so they get working again. And so we found that redirection was the key with Eddie. And as long as we do that, he's good to go.
It's embarrassing at first. You know, I remember going to a physical therapy once, and over in Smyrna Hospital, and they have the Starbucks there. And I love Starbucks. I was waiting in line. I had trouble ordering because my words, you know, and the people behind me, I think they're around my age, and they're whispering about me, and they're like, this guy, you know, I think this guy's drunk. It's like 10 o'clock, you know, and usually I'm pretty snappy with the comebacks. And I was afraid to say anything. And I was like, well, why didn't you say anything? You know, because what am I going to say? You know, even now I can't say much, you know. Even if I would have, I'd sound drunk, a lot drunker than they thought I was, you know. So, I mean, if it wasn't been for my friends and stuff when I first got home, you know, I would have been, you know, sitting at the house, I guess.
I wanted him to use his cane. He had a cane because sometimes his balance, or he'd kind of weave and wobble a little bit, and it sort of would let somebody know, kind of watch out a little, or, you know, there is something wrong with me. And he is always a person that is snappy with the comebacks, and it's sad to see that he doesn't feel confident to stick up for himself and say something, you know. And I'd like him to have a shirt that just says, I have a brain injury because I was fighting for your freedom.
So what's your ultimate goal?
To run.
To run?
You said that. He wants to run.
Yeah, but
To be a DI.
oh, that's what I was looking
You still
for.
want to go back? You got to tell everybody what your dream is. Right?
My dream is to get back in the Marine Corps.
We have a blessing. He not only made it through, but he's living a productive life. He has a gift to give to other people. I mean, you know, he can give a lot of hope and encouragement to other people that were in my shoes and his shoes. I mean, really, I think he has an amazing gift to give people. I think every day should be looked at as a gift.
you know, if I can't be a soldier, I want to be able to help a soldier. Something like that.
The 3 stories you've just seen illustrate the struggle that thousands of people with traumatic brain injuries face each and every day as they learn to sort out the past and restructure the future. For more information on traumatic brain injuries, please visit the Brain Injury Association of New York State website at the address on your screen.